Hello. So today I wanted to talk about endometriosis because it's Endometriosis Awareness Month, but it also happens to be Women's History Month and International Women's Day just happened. So I thought I would go into kind of all of my health issues that are related to having a female body, I guess. Go through all of them, kind of, I guess. Hello, so editing me here. I realized that I didn't go into like my pelvic floor physical therapy and all of that because for a good while, like nothing could be inserted because it was too painful. I guess I wanted I guess I forgot about that, but also I kind of want to make it my own separate video about that because I think that could require its own video, but that would be a good video to make this month because that is a very female related problem. So yeah, mainly focused on endometriosis because that's kind of the one that was the catalyst to find out the rest, but overall definitely want to go over all of them and kind of talk about, I guess, my experience as a chronically ill, disabled woman trying to kind of figure out what's wrong with me. It can be very hard to get doctors to listen to you. It's something that I have kind of had to fight and figure out. My mom has had before me, so thankfully she was able to give me some knowledge, but kind of all my life I had chronic pain, and that's from my other conditions, and I won't get into them, but it wasn't until I started my period whenever I was like 12 or 13, and in that they were very painful, not debilitating, but just I felt so sick during them, like so sick, and it was just more debilitating than what is normal, basically. And my mom could tell. And I saw my first gyno whenever I was 15. She said it's probably just ovarian cysts and to go on birth control, which I didn't know a lot about birth control at the time. I wasn't super educated on how it affected my body because I was homeschooled. I never really had a proper like sex ed class, which, I mean, that's nobody's fault. Like, I'm not upset with my parents or anything. I have managed just fine. But I didn't take the birth control then because they weren't debilitating, and I wasn't sure I was ready to put something in my body if I didn't understand how it worked. That's always been a big thing, is I like to understand what's happening to my body. I like to know what's wrong. I'm very in tune with my own body, so I know whenever something isn't right. So fast forward, I get an ultrasound. It's clear. They say my uterus and everything looks fine. So life goes on. And I started having some other weird symptoms. And of course, I went to Dr. Google. And anytime I did, the thing that popped up was endometriosis. And there was a family member who was also seeking a diagnosis at the time. And my mom and I would talk about it. And she's like, there's no way you have endometriosis. Like, endometriosis is so bad. And I never thought that my symptoms were that bad. But then again, I have been someone who has grown up with chronic pain, chronic symptoms. That was my normal. I don't know what it's like to not be in pain every day. Like, I don't know what that experience is like. No matter what, I'm always in pain in some way, shape, or form. So, life goes on until 2020. I was 17 in March of 2020, right during lockdown. I had the most painful period of my entire life. I didn't know what was wrong. I was crying. I was in the bath. Like, I finally managed to get to the bathtub to see if that would relieve the pain. It kind of did, but the pressure of the bottom of the tub on my back just made it worse. In some ways, it like made the back pain worse, even if it was, because there was so much pain because it was going all the way up my torso, around my back, down my legs. I mean, like there was no, like I'd have to be completely floating. It would have to be in one of those float tanks, those sensory deprivation, which are awesome, by the way. So that happened, and that was pretty awful. I threw up. Like, I got on a Discord call with my friends a little bit later, and one of them even asked me what was wrong because he could hear in my voice that I had been like crying and stuff. And I told him, you know, I'm just in a lot of pain. So that passed, and I was like, wow, that was awful. I must have had an ovarian cyst, or I don't know what was wrong. I thought I was dying. And then the next one came, and it was yet again horrifically painful. I mean, probably some of the worst pain I have ever felt in my entire life. The only other pain that was similar was whenever this collarbone popped out of place, and it's actually kind of permanently up a little bit. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, this collarbone popped out of place, and that was also one of the worst things, like one of the most painful experiences ever, and it was about as painful as the endo. So that, if that gives you a picture of how bad it was, like I have dislocated my hip and walked the next day, and it was not as painful as what that was. And often you'll see barbed wire in a description of endometriosis, and that is honestly the most apt description. It felt like somebody had woven barbed wire around all of my organs and was like pulling it taut. I mean, it, like, I thought somebody was gutting me from the, like there was someone in me gutting me. It was horrible. And so obviously by the third one, we're like, all right, I can't live like this, because it was just so like unmanageable. It was just out of control pain, and there was nothing we could do to manage it. So I went to another OBGYN, and they did an ultrasound. It looked fine, and I talked with her, and she said, have you ever heard of endometriosis? And I said, yes, I have a family member who's getting diagnosed. And she said, I think you have it. But they couldn't do the surgery at the time because they hadn't tried birth control yet. So I went on my first birth control, which was not the right one for me. It actually had estrogen in it. We don't want that, because I didn't realize at the time that I had migraines with auras and all that. So I ended up over time going to a different OBGYN, and I got a different birth control from her because I told her, like, you know, I found out I have migraines with auras. I can't take the one with the estrogen. So she gave me another one. It was a progesterone only pill. And I did that for a while, until I had a hard time. I just didn't feel like taking the pills every day, but it did help. Like, the pain did improve. I still felt some pretty awful pain, not gonna lie, but it was just under my tolerance level so that I could function, which, granted, that is still a high amount of pain. And at least for me, obviously everybody's different, but for me, that's a high amount of pain. So I was still miserable every month, and I would skip my period as well with the birth control. But over time, I decided to go on the Nexplanon implant in my arm, which you can actually, I can't roll my sleeve up enough, but I have two scars, one from where it was put in and one where it was taken out. Sorry, words. So, you know, I went on the Nexplanon, and it really didn't work like we wanted it to. The goal was for it to stop my periods. It didn't. I had them every month, and my endometriosis was showing signs of getting worse, or at least new places where I was feeling pain where I wasn't before. And so it was like, is the endo spreading? Is it getting worse? And at this point, we have not done the operation, so we have not looked at everything. So I eventually, through the help of endometriosis online support group here in Florida, found my surgeon. And she is amazing. For anybody in Florida, they are Jacksonville Center for Reproductive Medicine. There's Dr. Fox there, and then another one, and then there's Dr. Sarah Pascal, which is who I saw, because I'm just more comfortable with a female. And she was awesome. So obviously by now we've diagnosed a lot more of my health issues. So whenever I met with her for the surgery, we had to make like a plan in case my MCAS reacted. And I ended up having my surgery at the hospital with another surgeon there, just because my issues, like, she's never really dealt with people with these issues as much before. So it was a little scary, which understandable. I mean, my MCAS is a pretty daunting thing, which I will get into that in another video. But yeah, so this past December 2023, I had my surgery finally. And that is early. I'm 21 now, and that is rare to get diagnosed that soon with endo. It's very hard. And I consider myself extremely lucky, and I'm very grateful that I was able to find these doctors. And I am very thankful, and I understand what it's like to be blown off and not have it taken seriously. And especially for that to go on for decades is awful. It takes about 7 to 10 years on average for a woman to get diagnosed with endometriosis, because the only way to diagnose it is through surgery. You can't really see it on an ultrasound. Now, what we did see on the ultrasound was polycystic ovaries. And I had been I knew about PCOS, and that was something that I wanted to discuss with her, because I was having like the weight gain and excess body hair and all that. And so I was like, this is weird. So we're pretty sure I have PCOS, awaiting labs that I just haven't been able to get done yet, but I'm gonna get those done. But we saw I fit the criteria on the ultrasound. I think I had 12 plus little cyst follicles in one ovary, and at least that many in the other one. So she saw more signs of PCOS whenever she did go in there for the surgery. Now, day of surgery, I want to talk about kind of what the surgery was like, because if anybody's facing it and they're scared about it, I want to ease your mind. Everybody was so nice. They did have to do a blood pregnancy test, because I deal with urinary retention sometimes, and I just couldn't pee that morning. I did have to do a bowel prep the day before as well, which was lovely, but whatever, it was worth it to get it done. They were all very nice that day. I had multiple appointments leading up to it, meeting with my surgeon, talking with her about everything. We had done exams and ultrasounds and stuff, just to, you know, have a game plan. And we talked again the day of. My mom was able to go back with me to the pre-op room. They had a private room actually in this hospital, which was pretty awesome. I had my own bathroom and everything. But yeah, they met with me again. Very nice. So I don't even remember going into the operating room. I metabolize medications quickly because of the EDS, and I also have redheads in the family, so I don't remember going to the operating room. That anesthesiologist hooked me up good with the Versed. All I remember is like the lights above me, but like it's like it didn't even happen to me. It's weird. So I woke up, and this happened with my endoscopy. I cried because of the anesthesia, but I was also like crying because I was so happy. And I was telling the recovery nurse over and over again, like, they listened to me. And it meant so much to me that I had finally been, it was vindication for everything. And she told my mom and came in and talked to me about what they found, and she found endometriosis around my bowel and on my fallopian tubes. I also had endosalpingosis, which is cystic tissue from the fallopian tubes out in my pelvic organ area. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how the endometriosis tissue got out either, but I had both. But I mean, the treatment is effectively the same. She did excision surgery, meaning she cut it out. The ablation surgery causes more scar tissue. Now, I think I do have a bit of scar tissue, but it's not that bad compared. And now that it's not that bad compared to what it was. We also found signs of adenomyosis or adenomyosis. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but yeah, we found that. The back side of my uterus was bulging, and she can't diagnose it without dissecting my uterus, and obviously I'm 21 years old. We're not going to be doing that. Even though I personally have chosen that I would prefer to adopt in the future, I'm still obviously keeping options open in case I change my mind. So, yeah, we found all of that. She also did a neurectomy in my uterus, meaning that helps limit the pain receptors in my uterus to my brain, so my brain doesn't connect pain as much there anymore, which is awesome. So that'll help with like period pain and stuff.
Okay, so this is editing me again. I would also like to mention that the recovery pain that I experienced was not that bad. Uh, in the first week, it was just achiness and everything, which was fine. Um, it was honestly nothing compared to what I feel every day. Now, the next week, I started feeling some sharper pain, but we think that was my body trying to ovulate, and because, I just had surgery, it was more painful. So, yeah, recovery pain, not that bad for me personally. So I wanted to add that in there because I realized that I forgot.
Yeah, that's everything she found. She also found a cyst on my fallopian tube that if it had burst, it could have been bad. So I'm glad that we got there when we did. So I didn't know about the adenomyosis whenever that was a total shock to me. I didn't know that I had it. I thought I didn't have the symptoms because I've always had a really light flow. That's always been something that I didn't match with the endo criteria or anything else, that I've always had a very light flow every month. But she did take the Nexplanon out, and I am now on a hormonal birth control, the progesterone pill, a different one than before, but seems to be working okay. And I'm skipping my periods with it, which is what we have decided for my treatment. Obviously, talk to your doctor about what would be best for you, but we decided that would be best for me. So I think that's everything I can think of as far as my lady health issues. As far as being a chronically ill woman trying to get help in healthcare, obviously that's been its own big thing. So I started looking into my pain, gosh, I think whenever I was like 7, because I was having this stabbing pain in my legs, which now I know is actually the bone pain from my MCAS. I didn't know that at the time, but it's bone pain, which sucks. I hate bone pain. I hate it. But yeah, I felt that as a kid, and I was like, I feel like somebody's stabbing knives into my legs, and they were like, oh, it's growing pains. And then whenever I was like 14, I had been dealing with headaches, chronic headaches all my life, and they were starting to get worse, so they checked my eyes. They were like, your eyes are fine, I don't know what's wrong. A lot of I don't know is what I've gotten over the years. I've seen a lot of different doctors, and it's taken a lot of pushing on my end, and also support groups have been a major help for me. And I think I will want to do a video on at least my tips for getting a diagnosis, but there's actually somebody who did it much better. Her name is Chronically Jackie. I will link her video in the description because a lot of her advice I've taken. And she passed away a few years ago from complications due to her feeding tube and other health issues, because she had a lot of the same health issues as me, EDS, MCAS, and others. And she passed away due to complications. And she's been greatly missed, but her videos are still up, and they are, and some of her advice is, I think, the best I've ever heard for chronic illness people. So I will link her video in the description about how to get answers when you're chronically ill. And overall, I think that's the main things I can think of as far as getting help. Thankfully, I haven't been told too much that my problems are all related to my period. Probably because anybody that I did see that said that, I didn't see them again. Don't see somebody again if they tell you that. So yeah, that's everything I can think of. I hope you like the new background. I set it up the other day. So very happy to have it. And I'm hoping to make more videos about health related stuff. I'm thinking as the awareness months come along, I'll make videos on my different health issues and go from there. So yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you for staying till the end. Goodbye.